if you are watching this, I'm speaking to you. I know what you're going through, and I know how painful and hard it is. And I can tell you, you're gonna get through this. I can promise you you're gonna get through this because, hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie if you're new, and if you're not, welcome back. I am going to be talking about in this video how to overcome social anxiety. If you have social anxiety, which I assume if you click on this video you do, I have found that in my journey through social anxiety, my entire life, I've never come across a YouTube video that truly helps people overcome social anxiety and truly explains like what it is, how to deal with it, you know, the methods to deal with it, the tangible methods, along with all the things basically. I'm sure you know if you are watching this, no one explains it well. No one talks about how to overcome social anxiety, and that's why I have my laptop in front of me, because I have written down a lot of notes for you that basically outline my story from beginning to end, all the methods, both tangible and spiritual. There's going to be a few different things in here that made me overcome social anxiety. And I do want to like have a disclaimer here. I know that everyone is different, and I know that, you know, not everything's gonna work for everyone, and you know, the timing is different for everyone. It's just my experience and my understanding of how one can go about dealing with social anxiety and overcoming it, and how I did it personally. And I want to express that. And you know, like I said, I took a lot of time to write down like what I was going to say in this video, because I guess if you're watching this, you know what social anxiety is, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to be explaining what it is really quickly. So social anxiety, from my, I guess, perspective and my definition, is basically when you are anxious from any social situation that you encounter. So, you know, you are basically in fight or flight mode, in constant, like, day to day. Every single morning that you wake up, you're constantly wondering, you know, what am I going to say to this person? What am I going to do when I go here? How is this going to, you know, what am I going to say in this conversation? And then after you go through those conversations, you overanalyze those. You overanalyze what you did yesterday. You overanalyze, like, every aspect of your life is a constant fear, constant battle with yourself, with your mind, with, you know, the people around you, always wondering what, you know, what you're gonna say next, and just basically what people are thinking about you. You're always thinking people are judging you, and people are, you know, just talking about you, and it's just all the things. It's so hard to put it into a definition, but I wrote down the definition just to have it here. Basically, you fear social interactions with people. You fear talking to people for fear that they're going to judge you, that they're constantly thinking about you before you even see this person or these people, and you're just constantly feared that everyone is watching you, and everyone, like, your life is in everyone's minds constantly. I'm probably not explaining this well, but you know what, if you're watching this video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know that social anxiety is a very difficult thing to deal with, and your body is in a state of fight or flight, meaning you're always on like level 1,000, because you're constantly thinking like, what are these people thinking about me? And I'm not going to put it lightly, like, it is very, very difficult to deal with, and it is very hard. And if you are watching this, you know like how painful it can be, and how, like, I get so emotional thinking about it, which I'm not going to cry in this video like I always do, but you know, I really think about it, and I'm like, people who don't like go through that, who have never dealt with social anxiety, they don't understand. No one understands unless you're truly in it, which is why you who is watching this video, you know like how hard it can be, and you know, it's really difficult. And I just want you to know, like, if you are dealing with social anxiety, one thing I want you to know is that you were not born with this disorder. You were not born with this, I hate even calling it a disorder, but you were not born with social anxiety. And my whole life, I thought that this is something that I was born with. I thought that, like, I always had something wrong with me. In fact, before I even knew what social anxiety was, when I was kind of Googling, like, what this weird shyness was, I thought there was something wrong with me, and I thought I was going to be like this forever. I thought that I was born with this problem, and I came to realize, like, this is not something you're born with. In fact, social anxiety is something that forms from a traumatic experience in your childhood. And when a lot of people hear that, they say, you know, traumatic. Because personally for me, I didn't have a quote-unquote traumatic childhood, but what I want you to know is trauma can be any sort of form of, you know, an experience that triggered you when you were younger and caused you to go about life in a different way in a certain circumstance, where if something happens to you that's similar to that traumatic experience, you will come at it in a sense of fear and anxiety like you did like many, many years ago. And so that's why, you know, if you are someone who, like me, maybe you didn't have a very traumatic childhood, but something as little as your brother's picking on you, hint me, you know, someone calling on you in class and embarrassing you, or something as small as that where, you know, you were put on the spot and you basically got triggered or scared, that is traumatic. And to a child, that is very traumatic, and that is considered trauma. And so I want you to know, like, any sort of thing like that could have affected you in any way and caused you to go about life and go about social situations and, you know, communicating with people with social anxiety and with fear that you're going to be judged, and that, you know, you basically just form this disorder. I don't even want to call it that, but you form social anxiety from these traumatic experiences in your childhood. And so, yeah, I just want you to know, you were not born with this, and you can overcome this. I thought my whole life, like I said, I was going to deal with this forever, and I have overcome this, and I can proudly say that because it has been about 2 years, almost 2 years, since I have started working on this, you know, getting rid of social anxiety. And in fact, it's only been about a full year, I would say, since this has gone away from me. And that's why I want to get into my experience and kind of tell you my story. And I'm going to put the timestamp below of if you want to skip over this, because I don't know how long it's going to be, but I do think it's going to be helpful, and I suggest that you do listen to it, just because, you know, I always like to hear people's experience and kind of see what they went through. So yeah, basically my experience, I have had social anxiety my whole life, and it's very scary to say that to this camera because I haven't told like anyone about this other than my close friends and family, some family. But yeah, I've had it my whole life until I was 21 years old. I basically peak COVID, peak pandemic when I came back. I was studying abroad in Australia, and COVID made me come home, and so I had to fly home. And then that was when the world kind of shut down, and obviously, you know, like during that time when everyone's inside, if you are someone with social anxiety, that was like, that catapulted it times 10 to make it way worse, because like you're stuck inside, you don't see anybody. And so it was almost like comforting, because I was like, wow, I love not having to see anyone. Like, you know, you're like, okay, I don't have to go out in public, I don't feel like obligated to go see people. So it was almost comforting. But yeah, so basically I came home from COVID, or came home from Australia, and that happened. And so that was when I really started realizing this problem, and I started noticing my anxiety getting a lot worse. And I knew there was something off, and I had to kind of make a change. But again, I had no idea what social anxiety was. I didn't know. So I kept Googling, like, what is this awkward social thing happening to me? And so I kept Googling, and I found social anxiety. And that's where, you know, I really realized, like, okay, this is what I have. I've definitely had it my whole life. You are probably someone who can resonate well with this. What happened is, you know, or when I did have social anxiety, I would avoid parties. I would avoid hanging out with people one-on-one, because, you know, a lot of people think social anxiety just means that you're scared to go to public like situations and hang out at parties with people. But for me personally, I almost was more terrified of one-on-one conversations with people, and one-on-one, like if I was stuck in a room with my ex-boyfriend's friends, like I would be scared, because I wouldn't know what to say, and I was scared of, like, you know, being with certain people who were my friends and who, like, I knew well. Like, people I would consider my friends, I would still be scared to hang out with them one-on-one, just because I didn't know how to act. I didn't know, like, you know, what to do. And so it sounds so weird, but like when you have social anxiety, it's like the most absurd thing, and you just go about life living in constant fear and constant worry, because you don't know what you're going to say next in the conversation. And, you know, a lot of people who don't have social anxiety, things like interviews, public speaking, all those kinds of things, and like just public speaking in general is scary. But when you have social anxiety, you know, that is like level, I can't even express how horrific that is. Like, when you have social anxiety and you have to talk in public settings, it is like the most terrifying thing. But anyways, yeah, so for me personally, I'd go home crying from parties because I would just get so upset and scared, and so I would go home and then I would cry because I was mad at myself. It made it worse. I would get really mad at myself for being so terrified of social situations. And yeah, you just basically, I was just always upset and always sad because I knew there was this problem and I didn't know what to do about it because no one told you what to do. In fact, a lot of YouTubers, this is my whole thing, like I was trying to Google all these things, how to get rid of it. They pretty much tell you, in fact, I have a funny story about this therapist I worked with once, which I went to one time and then I never went to again, because in my first session with her, she basically said to me, and this is going to resonate with you really well probably, she basically said to me, don't you realize that no one's actually thinking about you even though you think that they are? And hearing that when you have social anxiety, you know, like when someone tells you that, it's like, well, no shit. It's like, obviously I know that. You know that no one's like judging you and thinking about you, but when you're in that state, when you're in such a deep like fear mode, you can't help it. You have these fears, and so it's so often people would tell you and to tell me like, well, just stop thinking that people are thinking about you. Like, it's not that hard. No one's judging you. Like, just be yourself, whatever. And it's so easy to say that, but when you're in it, it's not that easy. And it's not like, it's like hearing the dumbest thing when you hear that. I'm sorry, but it really is. And you probably know, like, it is painful to hear that because it's not going to help. And we need tangible things. We need things that are actually going to work for us to make us clear this anxiety and make us make a change. And so, yeah, that's just a little story, but never went back to that lady again because she really triggered me with that. But I came across this man named Sebastian on YouTube, and I'm going to link him down below. His name is Sebastian. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Sebastian, and his YouTube channel is Social Anxiety Solutions. And I came across him on YouTube, and he basically teaches EFT tapping. And EFT tapping is basically where you tap along the meridians or like your energy points on your body to clear negative emotions and clear basically anxiety towards things. And it looks kind of weird, but you basically tap along the meridians like this. And yeah, you just tap. And I want to read off the definition so I can not sound as weird. So yeah, basically EFT tapping it stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's a practice of tapping along your meridians, which are the energy channels in your body that form a path to your chakras. And when you tap on each point, you release negative emotions that have been blocking the energy from balancing and from being normal. And so, you know, it goes all the way back to ancient Chinese culture, basically, like, you know, acupuncture, where you get acupuncture on these points to relieve pain. It's kind of the same thing, but you tap. And he has videos on how to basically do EFT tapping. And so I came across him and I started watching his videos, and you know, he has all these stories. You can see all these stories of people who have overcome it and worked with him, and it's actually crazy. So that I knew that was my first step, and I actually started working with him as my coach. So I got him as my coach, but again, I want you to know, like, you can watch his free videos, which I did for so long, and even after I had him as a coach, and they're phenomenal. And you don't need to like pay him to coach. You can just, that's just what I did personally, but he is so good, and he has all these videos on how to EFT tap. And so yeah, like I said, I'm not going to go into the whole thing. It's just, that's my first step, I guess, with what I did. So I came across him, I started doing the EFT tapping, and like I said, you tap on your meridians, and it allows you to clear all the negative emotions towards certain things in your life that make you scared, that make you, you know, anxious, like past things even. So say you went to a party and say that you embarrassed yourself and you have this really bad anxious feeling. Because another thing, like, you know, with anxiety, social anxiety, it's not just, you know, fear of doing things. You even have a fear after you go to a social event or whatever, that you overanalyze everything. You overanalyze the future and the past. You overanalyze, like, did I say this right? Did I say this correctly? And you know, obviously, but yeah, so you tap along these points and you tap off all the negative emotions you have towards certain things that you did or said or are going to do. And it allows you to clear that anxiety. And it's a whole process. And again, I'm not going to go into it, but I want you to know that EFT tapping is what catapulted my like healing journey of social anxiety. And so I really recommend that you check out Sebastian. And like I said, I'm going to link his YouTube below. And he has all the free videos on it. He even has like live webinars and things that are free where you can go on and learn. And another thing I want to tell you is The Tapping Solution is a book. Let me check who it's by. Okay, so The Tapping Solution by Nick Ortner. And you can get it on Amazon, you can get it anywhere. And it also teaches you how to EFT tap, how to do it on your own. So if you want to buy that book, it's like probably $10, and it teaches you exactly how to EFT tap. And like I said, it might sound weird to you right now if you don't know what it is. When I first found out what it was, and even when I told people about it, I was like so weirded out by it because it sounds like the weirdest thing, but I honestly can tell you right now, there are so many success stories on this. I'm a success story. It worked for me and it's incredible. And like I said, it dates back thousands of years, and you're tapping off all these negative traumatic experiences and emotions you hold towards things. And it is what catapulted my journey. And watch those free videos. And also I do want to say, you can find local EFT practitioners, and you can find them online. So if you do want to work with somebody, go look online. You can literally use Google and look up, you know, EFT practitioners in my area online, and even work with therapists who can do it. There's so many people that know how to do it. So if you do want to work if you do want to work with someone, you can. But also if you don't, like, use the free resources, use YouTube, and I can guarantee you'll find so much on this, and it's going to be so helpful for you. A lot of people who actually have PTSD, like war victims, use EFT tapping to clear the negative traumatic experiences they have from war. So it's not only used for social anxiety, it's used for so many things, generalized anxiety and so many other things people use it for. And so it does work, and I can promise you, like, it catapulted my journey so much, and it cleared so many negative emotions I have. So again, I'm not an expert, and I'm not telling you need to do this, and I'm not a medical expert in any way. I just want you to know, like, this is what I did, and it helped so much. And so if you do want to learn about it, the tapping solution, YouTube, Google, and then social anxiety solutions, which I'll be linking below. Okay, and so my next thing, so it's two things, and I'm going to read you off the definition because, again, I'm not an expert on this at all, but I just want to say two things that I also did that helped me, and it was in therapy. And again, I don't want you to think that you have to go to therapy for social anxiety, because personally, I will say, and I promise you this, like, I don't think that personally therapy was for me. And I've always been somebody who thought that healing has to come from within, and it has to come from my own self. And you know, if you have social anxiety, it's very hard to find people who understand, because even when, you know, you're a therapist, they don't know what it's like unless they've been through social anxiety, how to deal with it. And so that's kind of what I found with my therapist that I work with, is no one really understood. And so I always found, like, with anything in my life, not just social anxiety, like, healing truly came from my own work and my own doing and my own understanding of, like, how to find things that worked for myself. And so just personally, like I said, therapy wasn't for me, except for these two things that I do think help, and that I do think if you did want to pursue it, and if you did have the money or time or whatever, then you could pursue these. But again, you don't have to, but I'm going to explain them. So EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a form of psychotherapy in which the person being treated is asked to recall distressing images. The therapist then directs the patient in one type of bilateral stimulation, such as side-to-side movement, or tapping either side of the body. And so I did this a few times in my therapy sessions, and you do feel a lot of release. In fact, it's actually pretty cool, because basically I don't know how it goes, but I would cry afterwards. I would release all these emotions and really bawl out my emotions. And so it was a really big releasing moment for me. And so I do think that helps. But again, it wasn't something I did a lot. In fact, these are the two things I would say I did the least out of all the things I'm about to tell you. But if you did want to give them a try, like I said, everyone's different, and so you might want to. And so EMDR is one, and then CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is another one. And it's a type of talk therapy where you work with a mental health counselor to help you become aware of inaccurate or negative thinking, so you can view challenging situations more clearly and respond to them in a more effective way. And so again, I didn't do this a lot, but when I did therapy, I had these two things, EMDR and CBT. And so give it a try if you want, and if you, again, have the money to spend on therapy. But like I said, therapy was not my thing. And in fact, I love healing on my own. I love finding my own healing, because I do think, like I said, no one understands like yourself. No one knows yourself like you do. So you know what's going to work for yourself. And so take all these things as you will and as you wish. And so yeah, those are two things. Okay, the next thing, guys, is shadow work. And so I do want to say, when I started my healing journey back in 2020, in the summer of 2020, I also came across the law of attraction and kind of like healing and just all the, you know, the deal with the law of attraction. And so I got into this whole spirituality journey, and I actually found shadow work. And so shadow work is basically where you clear all the traumatic parts of your childhood and of your life that have been sitting with you that you don't know, because a lot of us have trauma. Like I said, no one a lot of us assume that trauma has to be these really bad experiences in life, but they do not. In fact, trauma is something as little as someone picking on you, or, you know, anything. It can be anything. And so for me, like I said, I never had this quote unquote traumatic experience in my childhood, but I did have all these things that I did have to clear. And so yeah, basically what shadow work is like I said, you go deep into your emotions and you allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. And so if you have something that you've always been stressed about or has been in your life that has been causing you a lot of pain, what you want to do is you want to sit with that emotion, and you want to every night, maybe not every night, but you know, every week or so. It really depends, again, for you, whatever you want to do. For me, I would do this like every few days, because doing it every night was a lot for me. But every few days I would sit at night, and you can do it a bunch of different ways, but basically what you want to do is sit at night, get a notebook, any notebook, and put on some sad music. I know it sounds weird, but you want to put on sad music or just some calming music, and just think about your childhood. Think about the experiences in your life that caused you a lot of pain and just caused you a lot of trauma and heartache in your life, and just sit with them and allow those feelings, the emotions, to come up, and allow them to come up and write them out. Whatever it is, write about how you feel about it. You know, for me, like I said, little things like people picking on me, basically backtracking your relationships with your family and kind of problems you had with your family, or anything, again, that just triggered you, and you just want to write it out, let the emotions come up, and just explain how you feel and feel those emotions. Because what a lot of people don't understand is that, you know, in order for us to heal, we have to allow our bodies and our minds to feel the emotions within us in order to release them and not suppress them. Because my whole life I tried to suppress all the emotions and try to act like this happy, positive girl who didn't have problems, who didn't have all these things that led to my social anxiety. I was like, no, be confident, I'm gonna be confident, and that's gonna work. Like, it doesn't work that way. So you want to heal the trauma and the pain and allow yourself to feel it and allow it to come up. And again, whenever you need to do this, do it. For every single person, it is different. And I do want to say this, and this I cannot stress enough. Like, if you're out there listening to this, I hope you can resonate with me. I listen to a lot of people talk about how shadow work, you have to be crying all the time, and you have to be like weeping on the floor for hours and hours. And for me, it's very hard for me to cry for a very long time. And so I found that healing my, you know, shadows and healing all the trauma from my childhood, I don't ever really cry. And so I don't know if I'm the only one that does that, but I just personally don't cry a lot. And so if you are like that, don't get mad at yourself and don't get upset that you aren't feeling emotions, because like I said, I don't either. And I used to get frustrated at myself. I was like, why am I not crying? Is there something wrong with me? But I thought about it and I was like, no, you know, like, everyone's different and everyone has a certain way of expressing emotions. And so as long as you just sit with the emotions and allow them to come up and know that they're there and not suppress them, if you don't cry, like, it's fine. Just do what makes you feel right and allow them to come up, allow yourself to feel them, and whatever reaction you have from that is fine. If you want to scream, if you want to cry again for hours, if you want to just sit there and not cry, do whatever feels right for you, but don't suppress any of the emotions. Just allow things to come up, allow them to heal, write it out, journal whenever you want, and it's going to really help you. I can promise you that. Like, and I do want to say, all these techniques like EFT, EMDR, CBT that I just talked about earlier, they all are considered shadow work. And so I do think, for me personally, ever since I've been trying to do more shadow work that doesn't involve any of those techniques, just like writing and journaling, I feel like the reason I don't cry a lot is because I've healed a lot of my pain through these techniques. Like I said, with the EFT and the EMDR and the CBT, I think that I healed myself through those, so I don't cry as often through shadow work. So that's basically, again, my experience, but everyone is different. But again, try to do shadow work, try to let yourself feel these emotions come up, and it will truly allow you to see where things came from, where you had traumatic experiences in your life, you know, if you had them, how severe they were, and you'll really be able to understand, okay, this is where this came from, this is where I might have, you know, gotten a traumatic experience from. Okay, think of the stories that you have that you remember really, really deeply from your childhood. And for me, when I was in first grade, this is such a funny story, I can't even believe I'm telling this, but I basically was in class and this girl was standing up in front of me, and I think I was really jealous of her because she was, like, again, super confident and all that kind of stuff, and she was standing up in front of me and I couldn't see. So I grabbed her belt loops and I pulled her down, and I accidentally pulled her pants down, and You might have thought that was traumatic for her, but for me it was extremely traumatic because her parents called my parents. I got in this whole big thing of trouble, and all the kids were looking at me like, can you believe she did that? And what I'm trying to say is that something as small as that can be considered trauma. That is traumatic to me because I still to this day remember that like as if it was yesterday in that first grade body of mine. It was so traumatic and so sad for me. And so yeah, anyways, what I want to say is like that is trauma, and that like I think of that and I cleared those emotions by tapping and by sitting with what I felt and trying to comfort my younger self. Yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that, but that's just kind of one example, I guess, of like what could have been a traumatic experience in your life and what was done in my life. So, okay, the last thing that I want to say is, actually not the last thing, but one of the most important and most impactful things for me that I came across to help my journey was the law of attraction, spirituality. It all fits into one, but this, you guys have to understand, is like really what catapulted my journey and what I can say helped me so much in my life. And there's a few things in this. So scripting, visualization, affirmations, meditation, and presence. And these are 5 things. And again, I will put them in the description below so that you can remember what I said. So also I'm gonna bring my camera closer so you can see me. Sorry. Okay, so first thing in this whole law of attraction spirituality concept, scripting. Scripting is basically where you will write out your personality, yourself, as if you are the person that you want to be right now. So like I said, and like, you know, for you with social anxiety, what I did was every morning I would write out a story of myself, and I would write it as if I was the person that I wanted to be. So I'm sure you all will resonate with this. I would write, I am so confident now that blah, 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 blah. I am so happy now that I'm so confident and I go to all these social situations. I'm so happy now that I am extremely social and I have tons of friends that I talk with on a daily basis. I am so happy now that I have so many friends that I communicate with and I speak easily and confidently and peacefully in social settings. All these kinds of things. You basically write a story about the way you want to be, and you write it as if, like I said, you are that person right now. And it might sound weird if you don't know a lot about law of attraction or spirituality, but I am very much a believer in this, and I know for a fact that this worked for me. And so yeah, like I said, you basically write it as if you are this person you want to be. And so I'm going to link below kind of some examples and links that you can use to kind of learn how to script, but it really helped me. And like I said, you just want to write it as if you are the person you are right now and read it to yourself every single morning. Do it morning and night if you can, but for me, scripting was a huge help. And the more you write, the more your subconscious mind, you're programming your subconscious mind to think that that is who you are. And so, like I said, at first it doesn't seem real, but the more you write as if you are that person, your brain trains, you train your brain to believe that that is you. And so what goes along with scripting is affirmations. And again, I'll link some more below that you can use, but basically every single morning and night. Morning and night if you can, but morning, you know, is just fine. So in the morning, you want to say to yourself affirmations, and you want to say, I am so happy now that I am extremely confident. I am the most confident person I know. I am extremely sociable and I enjoy social situations. I am calm and at peace in social situations. And there's a whole list of things. You can look these up again. Google and YouTube is your best friend. Just look up on Google social anxiety affirmations, confidence affirmations, social skills affirmations, and so many will come up. And like I said, the more that you do this, you're training your subconscious mind to believe that that is you. It takes some time, but the more you do this, you will see an impact, and I can guarantee you this works, okay? So scripting, visualization, and then of course my favorite thing of all, meditation. And guys, meditation truly, it will change your life, and I can guarantee you that meditation is the most powerful thing. And I think it solved any problem in life, like social anxiety, whatever it is. Meditation is the answer to life. And so basically every morning, again, every morning and night if you can, but every morning is what I started with personally. And you want to look up guided meditations if you want, or you can just sit and obviously be present and put on some Hertz music, or just be silent and have no music going on, whatever you want. Again, it's up to you. But I started out, whenever I got into meditation, because I didn't really know too much about it, I started with guided meditations. And so I would look up on YouTube, and I'll link one below, but I want you to look up child healing meditations, and you'll see hundreds on YouTube. There's so many. And basically when you look up child healing meditations, you go back in this meditation to your child self, to when these traumatic experiences happened to you to cause the anxiety, and you basically heal that child and you give your child a hug. There's so many different ones, but the ones I like are when you give your younger self a hug and you sit with your younger self and love them. And I personally would cry so much when I would heal my child, and I would bawl because I could feel the pain and I could feel the trauma. And the more you do this, it is like the most impactful, inspiring, like, it is so good. I can't even express this enough. But basically, look up child healing meditations. And again, once you get past that, because for me, after I did a few of them, I wasn't really able to cry anymore, and it wasn't really that impactful for me to do those meditations, because again, I think that I healed that inner child. And so once you can do that for a little while, depending, again, it's different for every person, but if you have done a few of those and you want to move on to regular meditation, I really suggest you do that and do Hertz music, or just sit silent and just sit for 10 to 20 minutes, work your way up and just sit and be present and focus on the present moment. Because again, another thing with social anxiety is, like, we're always focusing on everything is happening in the future or in the past. We're always overanalyzing what someone's gonna think about us when we go to this party, or what they did think about us when we went to that party in the past. Like, we're never in the present. So meditation really teaches you to be in the present moment and allow yourself to really focus on the now, because nothing else matters externally, nothing else in the future and the past matter. And so when you can really master that present moment, it's like the most impactful thing, and it allows you to clear those overanalyzing thoughts and those thoughts about the future and the past. Because like I said, at least for me, when I had social anxiety, I always was thinking about the past and the future. I was never in my now. I was always thinking about past and the future. And so meditation is really what allows you to be present. And along with meditation is just, in your day-to-day, try to focus on being present. And what helps is going out in nature and going and looking at the trees, looking at anything that's going to allow you to stay present and be in the present moment. And when you're having conversations with people, what I can say will really help is try not to think about what you're going to say next, because we all do this when we have social anxiety. It's like you're always thinking about what you're going to say next or what you said in the past, but try to focus on only what's happening right now. And I promise you, it's kind of scary at first. For me, I was really scared because, again, you want to like make sure what you're going to say is right and it's going to work well with the conversation. But focus on being present and don't think for a second about what you're going to say next. And you will find, the more you do this, that the words will come to you and you'll stop freaking out and overanalyzing the situation. And so focus on that present moment, guys. It is what you need to do. And regardless, social anxiety or not, this is what truly will allow you to find peace within yourself and like true bliss. And you'll be able to clear any sort of anxiety. And so present moment, again, meditation helps, and being out in nature and focusing on something and really just being in the now. Okay, also one thing I do want to stress that I should have put in the beginning of this video, but I didn't, and that I really need to stress to you is come to terms, first things first, come to terms with the fact that this social anxiety is not a part of you, okay? Sebastian, who I just talked about earlier, he told me that the first step is realizing that you are not your anxiety. Because I used to always say my anxiety, my social anxiety, but when you start to say this anxiety, you're basically disassociating yourself from the anxiety, and you're saying that this is like something you're dealing with, but it's not a part of you. So that is the first step. Remember, know that it is not you. You are not attached to this anxiety, because so many people, not even just with social anxiety, just with people in general that have anxiety, they say my anxiety or this and that, and like my problem, my whatever. And it's like, the more that you associate with something, you're saying that it is yours, and it's harder to clear it. It's harder to, move on from the fact that you have this problem when you're saying that it's a part of you. So again, realize that it is not a part of you, and you can get rid of this, and you are going to get rid of this. And the first step, again, is disassociating from it and realizing this anxiety. I started saying that this anxiety was a problem, and that is when things started to change, because I knew I could get rid of it. I knew it wasn't a part of me, and it's something that was just something I was dealing with, and I can get rid of it. So yeah, that's just one thing I want to stress. And then, okay, one of the last things is I want you to challenge yourself. And so when I say that, I mean like exposure therapy is another word for it. Basically, facing your fears and doing the things that are going to scare you, because I know, again, it's so much easier said than done. People used to always say that to me, like, oh, just go out and talk to people, like, face your fears, and it's like so much easier said than done. But you know, again, you don't have to do it like dive head first and face all your fears, because that's not what you should do. In fact, that's not going to help. But what I mean by this is do something every week that's going to make you step outside your comfort zone. So for me, like I said, it was those one-on-one hangouts with people that would freak me out. And so I started every weekend, or even every other weekend, I would start saying yes to people that would ask me to hang out with them, instead of avoiding it and being like, I would often do this. I would invite another friend with me so I wouldn't have to be alone. Like, I'm sure you can resonate with that, but I would always invite someone else to be with me. And I started realizing, like, okay, if I want to face my fears, I have to go alone. And so every other weekend I would start and I would go by myself. And again, the more you do it, the less scarier it is, and like the easier it is. But you have to start exposing yourself, and like I said, start small, because I know it can be hard and it is scary, but when you do all these steps in combination with facing your fears, it becomes much easier than the common thing that people say when they say to overcome social anxiety. They say, oh, just start facing your fears. And it's like, when you know, just face your fears but don't do all these other things, it's so much harder to overcome it, you know? So do these steps, but then also start to challenge yourself in little ways, and start very small, and I promise you, you're gonna see improvement. And the last thing that I want you to know is you have to let go of the outcome. And so when I say let go, what I mean is, you know, when you're doing all this healing work and all these things that I'm telling you about in this video, what you have to do, and what I needed to realize, was I needed to let go of the outcome of what would happen with my anxiety, and just know that things were going to get better and that I was healing. But what I did 2 years ago when I tried to go on this healing journey is I would do all these healing works, or all this healing work, and I would go out in public, and then I would still be anxious, and I would get so mad at myself because I was like, nothing's working, this EFT is not working. You know, right after I would have an EFT session, I would go out and I'd be like, I'm still anxious, like, what is this? And I would get so mad at myself and so frustrated because I wanted instant results, like immediately. But you have to realize, like, it does take time, and you know, everyone's different, like I said. So it might take you a few weeks, it might take you a few months. For me, it took me like a good 6 months to start seeing progress. But when I completely let go, and when I completely stopped, I think I hit a breaking point at one point, and I was like, okay, you know, I'm doing all these things, but I'm not really seeing like dramatic results. And so I was like, I don't really care anymore. Like, I'm just gonna forget about this, and I'm gonna heal, and whatever is gonna happen. And when I did that, when I let go of like the stress and like trying to control the situation of all these, you know, like trying to be more social, I slowly found that when I would go out in public, I was more social, and it was like a weird, slowly progressed without even trying. And so that's kind of why I want to stress letting go is so important. Like, don't get mad at yourself when you go out after doing a certain healing session and you are still anxious, because that's how I was. In fact, I would do so much work, like all this healing work, all this EFT tapping, all the shadow work, and I would go out immediately after and I would be the exact same person, super anxious, socially anxious, and I was so mad at myself. But it was when I let go and when I said, you know what, whatever happens, happens. I don't care. I honestly stopped caring, and that's when results showed up within weeks for me. Like, it was dramatic within weeks. And so yeah, letting go is very important alongside all this. Again, what I want to say is, you know, all these things that I just talked about, you don't have to do them all, but I just wanted to give my experience and tell you step by step what I did to heal my journey, because like I said, I could never find anyone who truly gave me an outline of how to go about dealing with social anxiety and overcoming it. In fact, I guess what I want to say is a lot of YouTubers have videos on how to deal with social anxiety, but they don't say how to overcome it. They just say how to deal with it in your day-to-day. But like, if you have social anxiety, you know you want to get rid of this shit. You want to heal and you want to overcome it. And that's why I'm here to help you, like, overcome it and show you what I did to make massive change in my life. And now I can say I'm like a confident person. And again, it might seem like it now, but I was the most socially anxious person, and I would avoid so many situations, so many events. I never went on dates. I never did anything because I was horrified of everything, of everyone. I was terrified. I was living in fear. And you know, if you have social anxiety, you know the pain, you know how difficult it can be. And so I just really want to say, like, if you are watching this, I'm speaking to you. I know what you're going through, and I know how painful and hard it is. And I can tell you, you're gonna get through this. I can promise you you're gonna get through this, because I know when you're sitting there and you're like, how am I gonna get rid of this? Like, I've lived with it my whole life, you know, I'm never gonna heal. But I'm 22 years old, and I've lived with this for 22 years of my life, and I overcame it within months. And I can tell you, you're gonna do the exact same, and if not quicker. But you have to be patient, and you have to know. The first step, again, is knowing that you can heal, and knowing that you're gonna get rid of this, and knowing that you have these things in front of you to, you know, take as you wish and do as you wish. And again, like I said, everyone's different, but I really wanted to stress all the things that I did to overcome this, because no one, like I said, no one gave me answers, and I wanted to be the one to help you and guide you. And you know, if you are watching this, I want you to know, like, you can ask me for any questions or any advice, any tips that you have or that you want from me, because I really am so passionate about this, because I know the pain and I know how hard it is, and I've been there, and it was hard, and no one understands unless you're in it. So yeah, I just want to say again, like, ask me for any questions you have. Like, come to me for anything, because I really do want to help you, and I can help you. And again, I'm not an expert, but I just wanted to say again my experience and things that I personally did to overcome it, because all the other things didn't work for me. So if you're out there and none of these things out here on YouTube or on Google worked for you, like, you're not alone, because I was the same way. And I just want you to know, like, I'm here, and I'm gonna link everything I said below. And yeah, I don't know if there's more I need to say. I just want to stress, I guess, like, again, I know most of you that are watching are dealing with social anxiety, but if you're not, like, I just want you to know this is like a very, very, very difficult thing to go through, and everyone goes through it differently, but it's very painful and it's very hard, and you don't have a lot of friends, and you don't have a lot of relationships that you want, and yeah, you just lose a lot of friends because you avoid situations, and you know, are terrified of people you shouldn't be scared of, but you are, and it's really, really hard. And for me personally, even when I would try to tell, like, my closest friends about this, no one understands unless you go through this. No one gets it. And so again, that's why I'm here to say, if you are somebody that's going through this, like, I get it, and I know the pain, and I know how hard it is. I would cry every single day almost, because I was like, something is wrong with me. And so that's why I keep saying, like, nothing is wrong with you. You're gonna overcome this. You, without a doubt, will overcome this. Like, you got this, okay? So I'm here to help, and I love you all, and I thank you for watching. And yeah, again, I don't know if I'm leaving out anything. If I am, I'm going to make multiple videos on this, because I want to help everyone that I can with this, because I probably am leaving out some stuff, but this was just like a quick, probably long actually, outline of like what I did. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I appreciate you all. And if you clicked on this and you're watching this and you're trying to overcome social anxiety, again, you got this. I'm here to help. I love you so much, and I have so much compassion for you, because I know what you've been through. Yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.